Friday, January 29th. There is the closing bell, guys. With the S&Ps down over 75 points, we're seeing some very hard selling in the final minutes of trade. How do things look heading into next week? Well, let's dive right in, break this market down, and then go over the top stocks of the day. After seeing some hard selling into the close yesterday, we continued trending down, only to finding about the 1.5 standard deviation level on the week as a mild support. Waffling around there, we bounced off it into the bell. However, the buying wasn't enough, and we ultimately rolled over, going to the 2 standard deviation move around the 3700 level. We came like 15 points below that. We established a base, kind of bouncing off that. However, in the final minutes of trade, we just got dumped very, very hard going into the weekend, which means the selling could pick up heading into Monday. Now, when we take a look at it on the daily, this is getting very dicey here. Still no word on a stimulus. This is just a classic tug of war between the bulls and the bears. Let's cruise on over and take a look at the Nasdaq. Taking a look at the Nasdaq, we can see it's down over 2%, and it is our worst performing index on the day, beating the S&P by about 0.10%. Now, when we compare that to the Big Five today is down 1.3%. This was about 1%. We saw an ultimate dump here in the final minute of trade. You can just see it's doing slightly better than the Nasdaq. However, it's not helping our S&Ps, down over 73 points in the SPX. That's a lot of selling. However, we've ran so much so far, we're due for a pullback. Now, reporting next week, we have Google. That comes out with some earnings on the 2nd, as well as Amazon are going to come out with some earnings as well. It'll be interesting to see if they can help turn technology around, or if we'll add more fuel to the fire. Let's cruise on over and take a look at the Russell 2000. Taking a look at the Russell, the small caps were down about 1.4%. Futures are still trading now, guys. Now, this is ugly. It's our best performing index on the day, but not by much, down about 1.5%. It didn't get beat up as much yesterday, and we're still seeing selling. You can see in these futures, 2.17 in the Nasdaq and almost 2% in the S&Ps. Now, when we look across the board at some of the sectors, all our sectors are down. The best performing sector was down 0.5%, and that's our utility sector. Other than that, financials down over 2%, back into where it was consolidating through the month of November and December. What else is down? Well, technology is really taking it very hard here, as well as the energy sector. So everything is pulling back and nothing is safe. Now let's move on over to the AD line and see how it looked. Taking a look at this AD line, when we see 10 up and 90 down, nothing is safe, guys. And you can just see right here, full on selling across the board. There's a couple hand-picked stocks that are up, but couple names aren't going to save you, especially when you see the Big Five all in the red. It's tough to say what's going to happen going into next week. Maybe the selling picks up on Monday, possibly Tuesday, but it's going to be very interesting watching what the financials and energy do, because they're at a tipping point. Are they going to come back down and give away all this year's gains? Are they going to find a floor and try to balance out here? Let's cruise on over to the bonds and see how they performed today. Taking a look at the bonds, they are actually down with the equities, seeing down about 1/3% here. We take a look at it on an intraday. Bonds are seeing a slight rally into that close, back to that 169 level on the volume profile. That's where the bonds like to rest. However, seeing the bonds down with the equities is not a good sign. Everything is selling across the board. However, when we take a look at the TNX, the 10-year yield, it's actually up 3.4%. So we're seeing the yield rise, which means the bonds are dropping. And this will be very interesting seeing how it trades in the month of February, because today was the last day of January. So we'll keep our eyes day by day on what the 10-year yield does. But if this yield keeps on rising, it's going to give this market a lot of problems. Let's cruise on over and take a look at the VIX futures. Taking a look at these futures, guys, they're up close to 10% here. We look at it intraday, and boy, they're getting a nice bid in the final minutes of trade, and they're still trading these futures. When we look at the VVIX, the VVIX bid up into the weekend at a 140 level. This VVIX is not slowing down. Who knows how much higher this thing can go, but maybe it comes back and tests that high of 170 or so. But things aren't looking too good if you were long this market, and it's time to get some protective positions on maybe volatility. However, volatility already moved. You missed that trade, so cash is a position too now. Now with the VX bidding up into the weekend, let's move on over to the SPX and see what our expected move is for next week. Heading on over to the SPX, you can see we came into this week expecting 73 points. We were positive for Monday and Tuesday. However, we spent Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday down and actually breaking the lower edge of the expected move. A 2 sigma was around 3,700, coming very close to that, and camping about the 1.5 sigma move. Market was weak. What do you expect? When we look at it on a daily, though, we hadn't had an outside move since Thanksgiving time, guys. So we were due for an outside move, and that we did. So let's move on over and take a look at the trade tab and see what the move is for next week. Just taking a look at it 7 days out, 136 points. Call it 137. This is still moving around here a bit, but let me draw these moves in and we'll discuss the moves for next week. Taking a look at next week's expected move, it's wide range. Volatility has expanded drastically, so what do you expect? Not a measly 70-point move. It's nearly double that going into next week. Our upper edge is going to play the role of 38.51, which I don't think we're going to hit unless we see some very positive news from fiscal stimulus, which it's been very quiet lately. This 35.77 could be on the table, and if we see some more selling, bad earnings out of Google and Amazon, this could add to that downfall. We could potentially come down, and then if we do see that 35.77, if we do get that low, it's a great time to find some bargain deals on stocks that you really love that are good quality names. But I don't know, it's going to be tough to say, especially how the VIX traded into the final minutes and seeing some big sell-off and seeing the futures continue to sell off. The ES is now down over 2%. Buckle up, guys, because next week is going to be a hell of a ride. Let's move on over and take a look at our dollar index. Taking a look at the dollar index, it's up 0.15%, but for the most part, the dollar isn't going anywhere, just in a state of consolidation, and I don't really expect it to go much higher, especially when we know that we're going to get stimulus. It's just a matter of when. Now, when we look at some of our commodities, we take a look at crude oil, it's down 0.3%, but again here, crude oil is just consolidating around 52 for the most part. How did gold do? Well, gold was actually up ever so slightly, 0.25% here. Pretty long wicks, a lot of crazy things going on in the middle markets, but again, consolidation here in the metals. So our dollar, most of our commodities are sideways. When we look at silver though, silver's seeing some rampant volume. Maybe people are potentially covering their shorts, afraid of a bunch of these Reddit people to pile into the SLV, but silver being up 4%. It has a lot of catching up to do when it comes to the gold-silver ratio. Now, 4% is a pretty nice move, however. And last but not least, we have Bitcoin, guys, and Bitcoin got crazy last night. Seeing Elon Musk change his Twitter bio to hashtag Bitcoin, it's a pretty big sign if you ask me. Elon's the richest guy in the world. To change his title, is he in Bitcoin? Is he just trolling? Bitcoin saw some crazy volatility. Taking a look at it, you can see when that happened around 3:30, just soared, came back down. However, I'm expecting some big moves next week in Bitcoin because there's the Michael Saylor's Bitcoin for Corporations, which is going to be huge, teaching these corporations how to buy Bitcoin and store it correctly. Could give a lot of new money coming into this space. There you have it for the stock market breakdown. Now, we saw our first outside move since Thanksgiving. That's healthy and all. Pullbacks are all right. It gives you great opportunities to get in some good names that you missed out on. However, will the selling pick up going into Monday, possibly Tuesday? How the VIX traded and how these futures are still moving, it could be, but you never know what could happen over the weekend. Something could be said, maybe stimulus gets pushed forward, and if we do see the money printing, expect money to come back into these markets and pushing it higher. Other than that, let's move on over and take a look at the top stocks of the day. So we head over to the scan tab and we hit scan and we have 5 tickers today. Coming in at the number 3 stock of the day goes to Virgin Galactic Holdings. Today it was up 2.74% with the market cap of $10.3 billion. On a year to date, it's up 90%. Now Virgin doesn't make the 5% cutoff. However, it got sold in the final minutes and it's on my list and I'm going to just talk about it. Now, what does Virgin Galactic do? Well, they're an aerospace company that provides human spaceflight for private individuals and researchers. Now, why was it surging or why has it been surging? Well, Virgin Galactic had a 16.5% shares that were sold short, so it's a potential short candidate for a lot of people online targeting these heavily shorted stocks, so it got a boost there. However, its sister company Virgin Orbit completed its first successful satellite deployment from a mid-air rocket launch earlier this month, so that's some positive news. Now we look at it intraday, kind of went sideways, seeing some nice squeezes higher, but ultimately finishing lower than where we opened the day. Now, when we look at it next week on the expected move, we take a look at what our barriers are. Well, our upper edge is going to play 5106. Our lower edge is going to play 3752. My guess with how the futures were trading, we could potentially come down and see this 3750 for a nice bounce. And if we do get into the 38 levels, and you've really been wanting to get into this stock, this could be a nice time to buy. However, we take a look at how far that drop would be if we did get to that level. You're looking at a 15% sell, which could be pretty nice if you ask me, especially when you look at it on the bigger picture here. Virgin is a nice trend. It did break higher, could potentially continue marching higher, has earnings on the 25th it looks like, but it could be on a short-term pause, and if we do, look for around that $38 level for a nice entry. Coming in at the number 2 stock of the day goes to Moderna Inc. Today, Moderna was up 8.5% with a market cap of $68.5 billion. On a year-to-date, it's up almost 55%. Moderna seeing some nice volume in it today. What do they do? Well, they're a pharmaceutical and biotech company focused on drug discovery, drug development, and vaccine technologies based exclusively on messenger RNA. Now, we look at it intraday. Got a huge spike at 8 o'clock. Why? Well, it traded higher following a report from a German health minister said that the EC will order more vaccines from Moderna. Also spiked off news of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine showing less efficiency. So it wasn't that great of a vaccine for the J&J. It made most of its move in the early hours because when we opened the day, it just kind of went sideways around 171. Throwing it on an expected move for next week. What are our boundaries? Well, upper edge is going to play 188.38 and our lower edge is going to play 158. My guess is we can possibly come back down, hit this 158 level, and this is ultimately an hype stock depending on what the vaccine does, what rolls out. It's more of a buy the rumor, sell the news type of trade. When they do announce something good, that means the move most likely had happened. If we do see some selling, 158 will play some support. If it wants to keep going higher, 188.38 will play upper resistance. Coming in at the number 1 stock of the day, you guessed it, GameStop Corporation. Today, GameStop was up 67%, market cap of $22.6 billion. Year to date, 1,700%, close to 1,800%, just insane. Volume, though, however, is slowing down here in GameStop. Maybe potentially because less people are able to buy it, more restrictions on how many you can buy, which is bogus if you ask me. What does GameStop do? Well, digital-first omni-center retailer offering games and entertainment products. Now, the battle continues here. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. Where is it going to go? Well, we take a look at it next week on the expected move. Our upper edge is going to play around 491. 491 would be a new all-time high. Can we get enough buying to push us that level? I don't know. I'm leaning more to the downside personally, and if we do go to the downside, 158.60 is our lower edge. That would probably see a nice bounce here just because of the fact that's what the options market is pricing in. So if we do see some more selling, around the 160 level should see a nice bounce if you're looking for a trade. There you have it for the top stocks of the day. Did you get a chance to watch any of these tickers? If not, comment down what you're looking for next week. Other than that, if you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. It means a lot when you guys like my videos. And if you're watching me for the first time, just take that extra second and hit that subscribe button because that will really make my day. Just see my sub count go up. My goal is 1,000 in 2021, so hopefully I get there. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It really motivates me when I see my subs go up. Other than that, have a great weekend, guys. Take care. I'll see you on Monday. Peace!